Welcome to The Mystery, a series of conversations on the mystery of life as ceremony with Ioana Maria Ilutz of The Gentle Healing Way and Melanie Niederskjöld of Sanctor Cree. Our intention for this podcast is to bring light into dark spaces in these dark times, to sit with the tender places within us as individuals and in the collective. We're bringing our hearts together with the intention to speak into what needs to be addressed. We intend to do it as gently as possible, and along the way you can certainly expect giggles and rants and everything in between. We're striving to bring some common sense into the spirituality world, the murkiness, the confusion, the chaos of it all. And we want to bring the right questions that help promote safety so that people can find the right paths, the right teachers for themselves, and have good guides of what questions to ask when and how. This podcast is intended for people who are in the early days of their spiritual awakening, and equally other walkers on the way alike, whether you've been doing this for a few months or a few years. You are welcome here, and thank you for bringing your heart to this space. So welcome to The Mystery. Our next episode is about to begin.
Hello everybody, and welcome to The Mystery for a new episode. This is your host, Ioana Maria Ilutz, and I am so looking forward to this journey together and to see where this episode leads us. I would like to start by thanking everybody who gave me positive feedback for the last episode, for the first solo episode, and it was very good to hear that it helped you, and that it did a little bit of good in the grand scheme of your lives and your paths. So thank you for that feedback, and I am very open to feedbacks, and I'm very open to you interacting with me and with us, and to telling me what it is that you need, what are your needs for your spiritual path, and maybe we'll do an episode on it. So again, thank you for that, and let us embark on today's episode. Today I would like to talk about something that is very dear to my heart, and it's something that has come up in the last few weeks, as it has been a time when there was a lot going on with a lot of people around me, a lot of people who are very close to me, very close to my heart, as well as a lot of clients. But one topic really came up very strongly, and namely this overlapping and the place where spirituality and community meets, like where our spiritual journeys and our life in community and in living with each other and helping one another, where they meet and how they connect. And in order to get there, I will do a run around and first talk about healing. So it's going to be probably like 2 episodes in one, for whatever is worth, because it's really important to understand a few steps of what the healing journey is and what it means and what it can entail and where it can lead us. So bear with me for this. So first I would like to talk a little bit about the healing journey, and what is the healing journey? What is it that we're doing in all these workshops? What is it that we're seeking? What is it that we're looking for, and why? So like we were talking in one of the other episodes, the healing journey starts for many people either with the sort of an awakening, or many times with some problems in their lives, with health problems of their loved ones, of themselves, with sickness, illness, trauma, loss, grief. So there are many things that can start a person off on their healing journey. And in today's world, when there is so much available, it sometimes can feel very overwhelming, especially when we start off, because there is this sense of, oh my God, where do I start? And because we live in the Western world, we live in societies that are not reliant on old ways of healings, or many of us, or many of our cultures have misplaced or kind of like misplaced in time, and with so many thousands of years of being colonized, our old indigenous healing methods. Because of that, there is this overwhelm of a lot of healing techniques and methods, and so there is a lot available, and that can be very overwhelming for many of us. So what do we do? Where do we start? And we were talking about that in one of our former episodes, in connecting to the body and to understanding kind of where we stand and how our yeses, how our nos are, how it feels in our body. But then, okay, so we are aware of these things and we embark on this healing journey, and we seek out practitioners, and we seek out the healing modalities that work for us, and we know more or less what it is about. So one of the things that is important in the beginning is that we focus on ourselves, right? So we focus on our own healing, on our own body, on deciphering how healing works the best in our bodies, what methods work best, what calling we have, whether it is physical or spiritual, or where it is that we're heading with this, right? So in the beginning stages, we focus on ourselves. We focus on understanding our triggers. We focus on understanding our body. We focus on understanding our trauma. We focus on sometimes understanding our generational trauma, the inherited generational trauma that we've inherited along with the color of our eyes and our skin. We sometimes also inherit transgenerational trauma, as many of you know. So we discover all these things about ourselves, right? We discover what it is that we're carrying, what generational trauma, for example, we have inherited, as well as the generational gifts that have been passed on to us, because it's never just one. One thing that is very important to understand is that it's never just one. So we focus on our personal journeys, and we focus on our ourself. We go to ceremonies, we go to therapy many times, we go to so many different kinds of workshops, and we just start digging and digging and shoveling dirt, right? We shovel what is there and what it is that life has thrown at us, and what it is that our own life circumstances have generated in our bodies, in our soul memory. And so we go to a lot of places, and here I'm going to do one of my neurospicy parentheses and talk a little bit about the overwhelm that we sometimes feel, that many people sometimes feel with all these different healing modalities, and all this all these people that throw at us all this thing, come to me because I will heal you, I will make you better, or this method is the best, this method will definitely heal you, it will heal all your things, it will help you get better, you'll be completely perfect and fine after this. Like I was mentioning in the other episode, it's probably not the best thing to go along those avenues and to to just blindly believe somebody who tells you, I'm gonna heal you everything. Most likely, turn around and walk away. But one of the things that all this colonized mindset has done, and the way it has seeped in through our spirituality and our spiritual practices, is that there is what I call a lot of spiritual consumerism. So a lot of the spiritual world is geared so much around, you have to come here and you have to do this and you have to do so much of this work, and that's going to make you better, and that's, come here. So many people on their spiritual journey, they kind of go in this thing where they try a lot of things, and they try a lot of things at the same time without the much needed time for integration, right? So this is what I call spiritual consumerism. Like, I'm going to this workshop on this weekend, and the next weekend I go to the other workshop, and then I go to the other thing. And so I do a lot of things in parallel. And some of these healing modalities, they actually don't work well together. They might work well they might work well if they're separate, and if you do one of the things and you allow it to integrate into work with you, and then once you feel that that part is complete, you go into the other one. But sometimes when we do even really good healing modalities at the same time, they kind of don't allow things to integrate. So this is, food for thought. So because of that, we go into this haze of, oh, where am I going to go? What do I need to do? Oh, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should do, go to this sweat lodge, and then I go to the family constellations, and then I'll go to this, yoga retreat, and then I'll go to this generational healing retreat. And I do all of it at the same time. 9 times out of 10, this will be detrimental more than it will be beneficial. This is at least what I've seen in my practice, in working with people, and in being in this spiritual world and learning in the spiritual world for the better part of 17, 18 years or so. So this is my take on it. Take it or leave it any way it sits with you. But this is one of the things that, that happens. And all these places, many of them are geared towards the me, which is perfect, right? In the beginning of our healing journey, this is essential. It's beautiful. It's good. It's important. It's essential that we know, that we learn about ourselves, about our triggers, about our past, about everything that we're carrying, right? But one of the things that many spiritual teachings or modalities or things that we kind of go to learn and heal in the spiritual world, in the Western world, is that it's kind of like it misses a big part of the point. That in most indigenous cultures that I at least know of, that I've learned from or been part of, that is not the case. Namely, many people in the West, they get stuck in the spiritual journey, in the healing journey, in the discovery of self. They get stuck in the I. They get stuck in the me. Now, one of my favorite things in the Native American teachings is that in many languages, on Turtle Island, there is no actual word for I, but there is a word for we, and there is a word for us. So there is this intrinsic understanding that everything that we do, the healing journey that we go through, the things that we process, yes, it is for us, and it is for the people. It is for the community. It is for us to go through these things, to go through this healing in order to contribute to community, to do our part in the grand scheme of the ecosystem. Like one of the things that is very important to understand is that in nature, right? Because most spirituality has been derived from being part of nature and from understanding the natural laws and how they work. So one of the things about nature is that no tree just grows for itself. No blade of grass is just there for itself. No wolf is just there for themselves. Yes, they're going to go out hunting. Yes, they're going to make sure that they are fed and that they can survive. And there is a grand scheme of things. All of nature, if we look at nature, if we look at the way nature operates, everything is an ecosystem, everything is connected, everything is interdependent of each other. And I think one of the most beautiful ways that you can actually see that is that documentary that they did when they reintroduced the wolves in Yellowstone, and everything changed. So just by introducing that one species, even the course of the river changed. So that's how we can see how important this balance is in nature, with all there is, with all the species, right? With everybody who contributes in their own little way or big way, because there actually is no little and no big way. There are just ways to be in community, in an ecosystem. So this is how nature operates. The trees and the grass and the squirrels and the wolves and the bears and the cats and the dogs, and everything has its place in the ecosystem. Everything contributes to the general health of the ecosystem, and everything is a part of things staying in harmony, right? And somehow in the Western world, in this colonized way of thinking and even of approaching spirituality, somehow many healing modalities or techniques or teachings or teachers in the West have misplaced or have forgotten this essential part of what healing and of what living as nature is, which is the fact that we are not just living for ourselves, and we are not just living for our, family or our immediate community nucleus, right? So one of the things that is not talked about, or at least I've never heard it talked about, with one or two very important exceptions. In the Western world, I haven't heard it talked about. Like, I didn't go to workshops where people were saying, look, folks, we're going to do this journey, we're going to heal, we're going to work on ourselves, we're going to end the result of this is going to be that we are going to be a better contribution or a more or a healthier contribution to our ecosystem, to our communities, to our society, to the world, to just nature. No more and no less than the trees I'm looking at when I look out the window right now. So this is something that I never heard. And it would have been so important, because this actually changes the perspective completely. And the first time I would have heard of it was when I started being in contact with what I call, you've heard me call them before, this way, unbroken traditions from different parts of the world, where everything is about community, where the ceremony is about the community coming together, where the rites of passage are always done in front of the community, with the community, where everybody contributes and where everybody pitches in, and where there truly is no I in that sense. Because when I am in my balanced, self, so when I've gone and done the work to the stage where I'm balanced enough to know a bit about my triggers, a bit about what I carry, a bit about who I am. So I'm talking about when I have reached a point where I am balanced and where I am well and where I have something to give and something to contribute. This is what I'm talking about in this episode. This is the place where I'm talking, just to be clear. I'm not saying go start giving when you're at your lowest or when you're working through some major things in your life. This is the opposite of. No, what I'm saying is that once I've done those things, once I've gone to ceremonies, once I've discovered these things, once I know myself, now this is the time for the next step, which is the natural step, because otherwise I get just stuck in the I. Like, I see this all the time in the spiritual world, where people go to these places or workshops or circles where nothing changes in their life, nothing changes in their approach to life, nothing changes, and it's just working through issues non-stop, and in their lives, not much changes, or not much changes for the good. And then I'm always like, okay, what is going on here? Because these things, like especially with plant medicine, I see people who are just going over and over and over and over, and then their lives are completely stagnant in the same place. Of course, when we have issues or patterns and these things that come up that we all carry, right? Of course, they come in cycles. So if I have this very strong imprint of, let's say, I get into relationships with unavailable people, right? This is, if this is a pattern, if this is a thing that is completely there, then it's probably a very strong imprint and we can look at it. And it's going to, like, we're going to spend our lives refining that pattern. It's going to, hopefully, this is the ideal case, refine and go through cycles where we clean out a little bit and a little bit and a little bit of it. And it's going to come up in different kinds of aspects, right? So it's like, you know, if I'm born with green eyes, my eye color is probably not going to change. And at the same time, I'm going to learn to do the best that I can and live the best life that I can, looking at the world through my green eyes, right? So this is what I'm talking about. But so when we are in a place that is stable, when we are in a place that we are empowered, right, in our lives, then it's time for the second step of the healing journey. And that is to step up and to be there in service and to be there as a part of the ecosystem and to be there and to bring our contribution to the world. Now, when I say this, I don't mean that everybody who's gone to workshops has to or should start to start teaching or to start doing ceremonies or to, you know, do this work or become, I don't know, shamanic practitioners or become healers or become this and that. This is not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that once we have gone through this healing journey to the point where we're stable, where we know ourselves and where we're comfortable in our own body, in our own soul, with our own lives, right? Comfortable enough, okay? Then we also, many times also are aware of the gifts that we're carrying, at least a little bit. And then it's time to start sharing our gifts. And again, this does not mean to start going about and telling people, oh, I can heal you. No, it can be about going out and sharing with the world those things that move people, if you will. Like, this is kind of how I catalog a gift. So if it's a thing that we carry that is innate to us, that brings us joy and that brings a positive contribution in our ecosystem. Now, this can be anything. This can be absolutely anything. It can be cooking. It can be singing. It can be doing maths. It can be really anything. Anything that we do that moves us and moves the people around us, that is something that we can contribute. Some people have this beautiful gift of hugs, like of giving a hug where you feel like the entire love of the mama bear or grandma bear is just holding you. Like, it's an amazing gift to have, you know. Or some people will cook a meal, and even if it's a simple meal, like, it doesn't need to be fancy schmancy stuff, but with this meal, when they cook it, it's almost like you have a bite of that food, and it's like it heals your soul. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but you know, it's a big thing in my culture. Especially, we like to feed people, sometimes way too much. But yeah, this is something that is very, you know, like in the Romanian culture, it's a very big thing. So other people, I don't know, they do maths, they do accounting, there are like, everything can be a gift, you know. We're not all meant to be healers, and just like we're not all meant to be doctors or, I don't know, like policemen or politicians, or there are certain things that when I think about them, just like my entire stomach turns. And for other people, it completely brings them alive. It makes them happy, and it makes them completely buzzing with energy and with life and with joy. And oh, yes, I love it. So this is what I'm talking about. So then, when we've done the work to the stage where we're okay, where we're comfortable, where we are comfortable within our bodies, with our gifts, with all of that, then it's time to start sharing. Then it's time to start bringing in our gifts into the world. Because one of the things that is also not spoken about enough is, especially in the spiritual world, and especially for people who have spiritual gifts. Like when I say spiritual gifts, like the gift of sight, or, whatever, feeling a certain way or certain things. When we have those gifts, when the time comes for us to share them, and if we don't do them, they can turn to poison. That's just how things work. Just like if you leave a glass of milk and it's there for too long, it will turn sour. It's very similar with our gifts, right? And it's actually something that happens with every gift. When it's like an apple, when it's ripe, it's on the tree, it's ripe, it's ready to fall down. If it's holding on to the little branch of the tree and says, no, I don't want to fall down, I don't want to be ripe, no, keep me here. If it goes like that, it's not gonna be good, because it is going to fall, and it's probably gonna be too rotten by the time it falls, so it won't have enough to share. So there are people who feel this coming up in themselves, who feel this, it's time for me to do something, it's time for me to act, it's time for me to share something with the world, and they don't. Because this, because that, because fears, and all these things are absolutely legitimate, like I was talking about in the last episode. So all those things are, legitimate, and we can look at them, and that's usually the time when it's time for us to go outside and to bloom and to share things with the world. So when we are at that stage, when we are in that place, that is the place where it is about what can I contribute. Last year we were in a women's retreat in Romania, and we were there with this group of beautiful women who are very close to my heart. And there was this kind of like a conflict situation, so we had to do some kind of conflict resolution in a good, spiritual, contained, loving way. And this thing just came over me. I was sitting there and, kind of like mediating certain things. And this big thing came over me. And what came out of my mouth was so brilliant. And I've been saying it ever since so many times. And it goes like this. It goes like, sometimes it is about the me, and sometimes it is about the we. Sometimes the step is, and the healing is, what can I contribute? Where can I be there for the people around me? Where can I contribute to my community? Where can I contribute, and how can I contribute to the ecosystem I live in? My Mayan brothers and sisters, they have this really beautiful concept of the ecosystem, and how we are part of the ecosystem, just like everything else in the world. So this is the thing. When is it about the we? Sometimes it is the time for me to put myself first, to take care of myself, to heal myself, to mind myself, to mind my body and my heart and my spirit and my soul and everything. And sometimes the time comes for me to step up and to do something for the people around me. And if I get stuck in this mentality of, me, my healing, my triggers, when it's all about the me, and I completely lose out of sight where it is about the we, that is a place where I should kind of contemplate. Now, and this part is for the people who kind of step into their work, or who have stepped into their work and are discovering, or are in this journey of discovering the we part of, of their existence, of their, work and what they're doing. There is a time when we go outwards, when it is about the we, and there is a time when I have to come back to myself when it is about the me, right? All of us need times to recharge and to refocus and to regroup and to refocus on our mission, right? Because if we don't take care of ourselves, if we don't know when and how and under what circumstances we have to take care of ourselves, we have to mind ourselves, we have to regroup and regenerate, then we have a little bit less to offer. And sometimes there are times when we don't have time to do that, right? Even if I want to, even if I need to rest right now, I can't. Because if there is somebody, like if there is a situation of life and death around me, and I have even a little juice left in me, then that's the priority. I'm not the priority. I can, and again, in order for me to do it in the best way, I have to know myself well enough to know, okay, how much can I do here? Because it makes no sense if I destroy myself in the process either. But if I know that right now, for this little period of time, for these days or minutes, I'm going to go there, even though I don't have much to give, I'm going to go there and I'm going to do exactly what I need and what I can do. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to heal and I'm going to regroup. Then odds are that's the right, thing to do. So this is the balance, and this is the game where it is so fundamental to go through that first stage of healing that I was talking about earlier, when we learn about ourselves, everything that we can learn about ourselves, and where we heal and where we work through as much as, or as much, but as quality work as we can with our own things and with our own issues and with all of that, in order for us to know ourselves well enough so that in situations like this we know how much we can take, and we know when it is time to go, and we know when I can leave the I at the side. Because I cannot go through the world expecting everybody else to mind me and to mind my triggers and my things 24/7. And here is a point where I would like to address another part of what I call this colonized mindset that we have in the spiritual circles, is this particular flavor of a sense of entitlement. Like the world owes me. Like the world owes me to mind me 24/7, to mind my triggers, to mind my, and if something happens, then I can completely explode and I have the right to, no, you have to mind me, you have to treat me this way. Of course, if it's in a closed circle, or if, it's about friendships, of course we're going to try to mind people. Of course we're going to try to be there. It's just that this way of demanding that is not necessarily a natural way, I would say. Because it's like, I don't know, it's like the wolf saying, oh, if I walk here, nobody can walk. It's not like that. Well, the deer might check if the wolf is around and if the wolf is full enough, and then they will go like, oh yeah, maybe I'll do, or maybe I don't. But this is not natural, right? The sense of entitlement in the new age spiritual circles is not a natural thing. So what I'm saying with this is that, so when we know ourselves well enough, then we know when to give, what to expect and what to not expect from our peers and from our friends and from the people around us. Because odds are most people around us won't know much about our lives and about our journeys, about our spiritual journeys, right? I'll just give you an example from my own life and walk. Like, I have so many triggers, especially with being a Romanian person in the west of Europe and living here. There is so much discrimination that goes on. A lot of it is a little bit hidden, but there are countries where it's completely out in the open. Like I've had to deal with so much bias and so much discrimination and so much kind of like xenophobia that it's like when I tell people these stories, they're completely shocked and they're like, oh, why aren't you a ball of anger exploding in every time? And this has made me extremely sensitive to it, right? So it has made me, so even if I feel it, even if I feel the underlying onset of it, I will still feel it all the time, everywhere, in everybody. And I'm not going to call that out every time. I am not going to react to it every time. Sometimes I'll just smile and I'll see it and I'll just go like, oh, thank God for 18 years of working on myself. Because then I don't have to react and I don't have to blow up. And sometimes, given the right circumstances, and when my entire body feels alive, when something needs to be said or addressed, I will do it. And I will try to do it in the most loving way I can. And sometimes I'll succeed and sometimes I won't. But I'm not going to react to it every time I feel it, because that's just not sustainable, and it's not my place to school anybody or to point fingers or to say, oh, you should know all the time. This would take so much energy. I can pick my battles though, right? So this is one example when I talk about, this entitlement of, oh, everybody should mind me. And this is what this I-centered society has created, right? Because we live in a society that is mainly centered on the I and on the achievements, right? So in school, we're graded, we learn to be the best in this and that. Everything is about what did you do in school? What are you going to do? What is your life? What is your career? How much money do you make? How much, everything is about I, me, ego. And of course, this will seep into the spiritual circles. It can't do anything else but do this exact same thing, right? Because this is the way the society that we live in is built. I wish it were different. I absolutely wished it were different. And right now it isn't. Like, this is just the reality. I can't call the leaves off the tree blue because they're green. Okay, is green a concept? Yep, it is, but they're green, right? This is the society we live in, and it is centered around the I, and it is what it is. And in the spiritual circles, in the spiritual world, in the spiritual work, it is part of what we can do to take these colonized concepts of me, of ego, out of the spirituality, because they don't belong there. Because first and foremost, spirituality is like a mirror of nature. Spirituality is showing us and teaching us to be in tune with ourselves, with our bodies, and this is very important, with Creator, with Great Spirit, and with creation itself. And you cannot be in a true connection, in a true connection with creation and with Creator and with all that is. You cannot be in a true balance if there is any part that feels superior, or that feels that your way is the better way, or it's the only way. It's just not, those things are just not compatible with each other. So this connection and this deep spiritual understanding also comes with this responsibility, if you will, of starting to undo the damage that has been done by this egocentric society. So this is what I'm talking about. And then when we get there, that is the point where we're like, okay, where can I reach out? What can I help with? Who can I help with? How am I going to contribute? How am I going to fulfill my role in the ecosystem. No more and no less than anybody else. No more, no less than the tree. No more and no less than the cat who has taken over your couch. No more and no less than any other living being on this planet. So this is what I'm talking about. And also, when we talk about spirituality, when we talk about being connected, when we talk about being in this energy, being in this flow, being in this state of being nature and living as nature, then it's the most natural next step that we want to be who we are in the world. And like I was saying, there is this part of the responsibility of sharing our light. Like, if I've come to a place where I'm okay in myself enough, where I'm good in my connection to Creator, to God, to Great Spirit, to whatever you want to call it, if I'm balanced enough to do so, then it's also part of my responsibility to go out there and to share my light. And again, when I say go out there and share my light, it does not mean go and take my drum and drum for somebody. Because when somebody is in pain, when somebody is in deep distress, when somebody's gone through a severe trauma, odds are they're not going to need you to go and drum for them. Odds are they're going to need you to go and cook for them and bring them some food and spend some time and make them a tea and hold their hand and give them a hug. It's really beautiful because now for the Western minds who need to understand things, there are so many studies that are coming out. And one of these things that they were talking about in trauma healing and trauma recovery is one study that shows that co-regulation, basically a person who's in distress, if they are close to a person who is in a regulated state, this is going to help them regulate their own emotion and their own system much better than pretty much anything else. And that one of the most important, essential things for people who are recovering from severe trauma, from PTSD or from CPTSD, from complex trauma, is the presence of community and of people that they can co-regulate their emotions with. So like now we actually have studies that show this. In nature, this is the case. So we cannot turn our heads away from this anymore. Especially if we're doing this work, especially if we're going to the workshops, especially when we're going to the ceremonies, especially when we have worked on ourselves so much. So it is time to contribute, right? And sometimes, even if we're, working in the healing world, even if we work with people, sometimes it's time, because when we're regulated enough and when we're connected and when we're full of that love enough, then we can put our, healer clothes down and put our cook apron on and start making that stew and start minding the people around us and start minding our friends. So what it is that I'm saying is that if you're in a regulated enough place in your life, if your connection with Creator, with creation, is in a good place, please reach out to your friends. Please pick up that phone, call them, see how they're doing. And if somebody is in a crisis, if somebody's going through a hard time, especially if you can do that, please put your own needs on hold for 5 minutes or for a day or for 2 and go mind those people who need help, who need support, who need pot of stew or some tea or a cup of tea or a good word or a hug. And then you gently come back to your own needs and you mind them. But it is really time that we decolonize, that we undo all the damage that this egocentric way of being has done to our spiritual world, to the world of ceremonies, to the healing world, to all that. It is really time that we take that apart and that we understand and that we see that healing ourselves is just the first step. It's the first fundamental, essential step that we have to take in order to be able to take the second step, which is to come and to move from the me into the we, and to shine our light and to be who we are in our communities, in our work, in the world that we live in. So what I'm saying is that if you can feel your light, please go out and shine it. Please go out and share your light with the people, and share your love with the people, and share your gift with the people. If your friends and family are struggling, or if there is something that comes up where you know you can help, you can be of service, and if you can be of service at that time, please do so. And let us slowly start coming back to this natural, balanced state of being that we feel when we come back to being nature and not fighting against nature, not thinking that we're better than everything in nature, but reclaiming our natural, unentitled place in our ecosystem. So this is one thing that is very, very close to my heart, and especially in these times. The last few months have been extremely hard for a lot of people I've worked with. The last few months have been very hard for people I love. These last few months have been quite confusing for many people. A lot of clients have talked about this fact that they can't really see clearly in ways that they would have done before. So this is another component. Sometimes it's not about you. Sometimes there are bigger things at play. Sometimes there are things that happen in the world that influence the way we are. And then if we are just focused on the me, if we're just focused on ourselves, then we miss the little hints. Because if we don't listen to the people around us, and if we're just focused on, oh my God, this is just going on with me, oh, it's so painful, it's so bad, if we don't listen to if we don't talk to the people around us, then we won't know that, oh wait, this person and this person, this person, this person, they all have the same thing in common. Sometimes I'll work with people, and over the course of a week, I will hear the exact same expression from 10 different people in that particular time. And sometimes it's not something that I connect with, because of course, sometimes messages come to us that we need to hear. But with the years, I've kind of learned to know when it's the one and when it's the other. And so when that happens, I'm always like, oh wait, maybe this is global. And one thing that all of them have in common, anytime when I say, wait, look, I've heard this before in this past time, so this is something that is going on, just know that it's not just you, and that it's not you who's going crazy, and that it's not you who has all your traumas exploding at this moment. There's this big sense of relief. And this big sense of relief comes only with knowing what is going on around us. It comes with talking and connecting and helping one another and being there for one another and listening to one another. So this is the beauty, and this is why community and reaching out and being in the world is so essential, and it's so important. It makes us feel less alone with the things that we feel. And it brings incredible amounts of healing, of joy, of beauty, and of being a little bit more at peace in our own lives. So this is it. Please go out into the world if you can, if this is the right time for you, if it's the right place for you, and reach out and be the light that you are, and share your gifts with the people, and take your place in the ecosystem with the little blade of grass and with the little bunny who comes and eats the grass. So please do that. Please go out. If now is the time, if maybe this is the nudge that you needed to hear, please go out and do the work. Whatever your work is, however it is, but go for it and do it and enjoy it, and then come back and recharge and be with yourselves and refocus on your mission and be gentle with yourselves and work through your things that will come up, because they will. They always do. Woohoo! Being human. Hashtag being human. And then when you're in a good place, go out into the world again and do your work. And then find a way to dance this dance in a good way. And do whatever you can to decolonize and wash your mind and your soul and your spirit clean from all these concepts that separate us from one another, that separate us from nature, and that separate us from the humanity and from this deep love. Because yes, being human also means having these, some people call them shadows, or these not so graceful parts of ourselves, like envy or, hurting one another and all of that. And at the same time, please don't forget that humanity also comes with love, it comes with compassion, and it comes with connection. That's why we have the languages, that we can speak to one another. That's why some of us give amazing hugs. That's why some of us cook amazing food. So, please do that. Go out in the world and mind yourselves and mind each other. And I wish you a happy and healthy and wealthy life. And be protected on your paths, and be protected in your lives. Be protected and safe on all your journeys, and may your light shine bright, and may the right people who need your medicine find their ways to you, and may you find your way to those people who need your medicine. And when the time comes, may you never be afraid to share your light, and may you never be afraid to share your gifts, and may you do that in the best possible way, for the people, for your soul, for your life journey, and yes, also for your own life. So have an amazing day or night or evening or afternoon, and be well and be protected, and I love you all, and until next time. And don't forget to enjoy the mystery. See you next time.
Thank you for joining another episode of Welcome to the Mystery. If you like what you've heard and you would like to hear more and sit with us, you can find more of our work through the link tree linked below. This has access to our free community gatherings as well as our private one-to-one spaces and wider ceremony work. It's been a privilege and a pleasure to speak and share our thoughts with you today. Thank you for bringing your heart to the space, and we hope to connect with you again soon. Gurb míle buíochas libh.